Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Cozy Content Corner. Today, I have my vibey friend, Erica Reitman, here today. A little bit about Erica. She is a rule-breaking business coach for industry disruptors who hate playing by the rules. She recently launched the Icon Agency with her husband, which is the first of its kind business empire building agency combining one-on-one coaching, done for you services, mindset work, and accountability. Basically, it's everything you need to build those $1 million foundations in your business. She lives in Mexico City with her husband and business partner, Greg, and their senior Basset Hound, Abe. I love Abe. I love him. I see him all the time on social. Erica, welcome.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to get cozy with you.
Yes, I'm literally in my cozy content corner. Like, this is how I named it because I sit in this corner of my couch and just create a ton of content.
I love it. I love it.
Yes, yes. So we're gonna dig into all the things, but I want us to take it like all the way back first because
Okay.
you weren't always in the business coaching space. So
No.
can you tell us about what you did before you entered this space?
Yes, of course. So before I was a coach, I was an interior designer in Los Angeles, where we were living at the time, my husband and I. And that had like always been a dream of mine. I had no training in interior design, had never worked in an interior design firm. And it was this business that like I haphazardly was able to put together thanks to Instagram, truly. That's how I built my business. But our apartment, we were living in New York City at the time, and our apartment ended up getting featured in a magazine. And from that point on, I started having people reaching out to me and wanting to pay me to design their space. Like at first, I was like, huh, me? Are you sure? But I really decided to kind of just go for it. And I ended up building my entire business off of Instagram, really. And that's what I was doing until 2018. My husband Greg and I decided we wanted to have a fun adventure and come to Mexico for 6 months. We had been to this town called San Miguel de Allende, which it's not on your travel list. You got to add it. It's so freaking fabulous. But we thought, like, let's go for 6 months. We were already Airbnb-ing our house in Los Angeles, and like, let's just have a fun adventure. And then at some point in honestly month one or two, we just looked at each other one day and we're like, maybe we just don't go back and we stay here. And that's kind of what started my online, coaching business. Because I realized quickly, like, I was already getting kind of annoyed with my clients in Los Angeles who were paying me lots and lots of money. And in Mexico, you just didn't have the opportunity to make as much money. You didn't have the resources and the suppliers and all of the sources that I had. And I realized really quickly that the interior design thing wasn't going to work here. I was seeing a coach at the time, and I had been talking to her about maybe doing the online thing and starting a coaching business. And she literally said to me one day, like, look, stop talking about this. I dare you to go home today, put an offer out there on social media. What is the worst that can happen? If it doesn't work out, like, let's talk again and we'll come up with a plan B. And so I decided, okay, I'm going to sell 10 one-on-one spots, and I'm just going to work with interior designers to begin with. That's kind of how I started, because I was always getting asked, like, how did you start your business? I want to do this. I don't have any training. Tell me all of the things. So I decided to like just go on my stories, pitch this thing and see what happens. And I sold out all 10 spots. And I just was
Wow.
like, what the fuck just happened? Oh my God. That was kind of the start of it.
So now, did you create a whole new account for this, or were you just like, I'm gonna see if my interior design audience wants to come along for the ride?
Yep.
And
I
they
didn't
did.
Yep. I didn't create a new account because there were a lot of people that were following me that loved interior design and probably like had dreamed about doing that one day. And I was only trying to fill 10 spots. Like this is what I'm
Right.
constantly reminding people about. It's like you think you need 1 billion followers, but truthfully, like depending what it is, what you're doing, like I can't sign 1,000 clients right now if I wanted to, and I don't. But yeah, I really was just looking for 10 people to like kick things off and get things going. And I had them within a week. It was crazy.
Yeah. So I know you still talk about this, but let's talk a little bit about like pivoting because
Yeah.
I know that that's super frightening to some people.
Yes. Yes.
So so how did you do it? Did you like cold turkey cut off all interior design clients? Were you doing both for a little bit? Talk to us about that.
Yeah. I mean, I deal with this a lot with clients now who I would agree with you. Most people, like you mentioned, pivot and it's like panic attack city. But what I like to remind people of is this is so much of a bigger deal in your mind than it is in real life. And we just picture like everyone in our audience is basically sitting there completely confused, doesn't understand what's going on, doesn't know what to do with you anymore, and is just like frozen because they don't understand what this pivot is. And we kind of feel like almost like I think of those like when you go to the beach, those planes that are like flying the messages behind. We almost feel like we need to do
Yes.
that in order to let everyone know what's going on. And what I found was, and I'm sure you can speak to this too, but because I had spent so much time building my audience on Instagram in a way that let them get to know me and who I was and what I wanted to do out in the world, it wasn't that big of a deal when I just showed up one day and was like, hey guys, there's a new announcement. I now live in Mexico and I've become a coach, and here's what I'm going to do. And that was it. Like, it wasn't a month-long transition plan. It wasn't taking out an ad in a magazine. Like, none of that stuff was required. Some people at that moment, I will keep it real with you, there were a lot of people who were following me who liked to see my interior design content. And this is me sharing client projects. This is me sharing my home or, different things that I'm doing within the world of interior design. Those people left and I sent them off with much love. There were a lot of people that decided to stick around. And I think when you take the time to really build those relationships with your community in a way that they really get to know you, I honestly believe I could have shown up and been like, hey guys, I'm starting a popcorn line. Like, it didn't even matter what the next thing was. People were all in and excited to hang out with me. And if they came to a place and realized, like, okay, I'm just not interested in this new business coaching thing, then they just leave.
Yes, there's okay, there's so much to dig into here. So, I agree with you that some people are like, "Do I need to plan out this 2-month long launch
Right.
plan to announce my offer and go on a podcast tour and
Yeah.
take out Facebook ad" No, because I'm gonna tell you one, most people probably are not as concerned as you are with it.
Right.
And two, if you have been also marketing the human, they will come along for the ride with you. But I know that that's a little bit of a subjective statement to make. So let's kind
Yeah.
of like put some concreteness behind it. So, what are some things that you do to help people know the human behind the business? And you do this very well.
Oh, thank you. Well, I mean, and this is true back when I was an interior designer too. I just always got a kick out of sharing my life and
Mm.
the things that I was doing. I just like in business, I have some strong opinions about things. Sometimes it's a TV show, sometimes it's a favorite thing on Amazon, sometimes it's a store that I want you to go to. And for me, it's just always been so much fun bringing people into my life with me, along for the ride, whatever it is that I'm doing. And as someone with ADHD, it's often lots of different things. But for me, I just think it's such a great way. And again, you get to decide. Like, this isn't, I'm not necessarily saying, like, even though I choose to be vulnerable and I choose to share about things like money and things like that, not everybody has to do that. You get to share in a way that's super comfortable for you. But I realized, I think pretty quickly after I started growing on social media, the power of it, both for my business and for just me as a person, and having an opportunity to connect with people in a way that I just frankly don't in the real world often. I am a crazy introvert. Sometimes people
Same.
are, yeah, sometimes people are surprised when they meet me. Like, I
Yeah.
am the person at a party who's in the corner talking to one person the entire time, or I just don't show up. Like, that's a possibility too. So I just, really have had so much fun figuring out who I am on social media and how I can use it both in my life and in my business to connect with people and build a community and share and talk and fight sometimes, because that happens too. But I really like, there is not one formula. I think you really just have to play around with what feels comfortable for you and just get the bullshit of like, my life is boring. Nobody cares. Like, shut that record off. Stop playing it in your head because it's not true. And experiment and see how you like to show up on social media. Because I could give you a formula, but everyone has a different formula, and like whatever works for me might not work for you. And it really just requires you to show up again and again, try different things, and see what you like.
Yes. I want to get into your polarizing opinions on things because
Yes.
that is what made me literally fall in love with you. But before I do that, I want to convey to everybody listening that, like, you don't need to share your, like, deepest, darkest wounds. Like, I
Yes.
know when I go onto my Instagram stories every day, I'm gonna see Erica pouring her iced coffee into a wine glass. I'm gonna see Abe the hound dog. Like, it's little things like that
Yeah.
that's like, "Oh my god, we're besties. Like, I'm
Yeah.
having iced coffee." You don't have to share like, "Oh, I was recently diagnosed with ADHD, and let me tell you
Right.
about how I'm weaning off of this." Like, you can for sure. Like,
Yeah.
I love to spill all the tea on things, but you
Yeah.
might not, and that's okay. Sharing the mundane is literally one of the biggest community drivers and connectors ever.
Yeah.
That's why when people are like, "Well, I don't have a story to tell. I don't have anything to say." Well, show us literally what you do every morning, and it
Yep.
will, I swear to you, it will bring people into your community.
Yeah, it's like unlocking a new level in your video game. Like,
Yes.
I just love to see all of that stuff. And I think too, as you just said, no matter who you are or what you do, I can promise you that there are people out there that are going to be excited to see you and your everyday boring shit that's not boring at all.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Now, I remember the first video that I saw of you, Erica. I did not know you from Instagram, and
Okay.
you have a quite large Instagram following.
Yeah.
But I saw a video of you on TikTok one day, the first video I ever saw of you, and it was just you sitting down, and within the first maybe 10 seconds of the video, you were cursing at me. And I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah.
I tell this to my clients, my audience all the time, but if you are comfortable doing that, it makes people feel so comfortable with you because it's like you're shooting the shit with a friend.
Yeah.
Now, have you also have opinions that not everyone might agree with in the business world.
Yeah.
So have you always had this voice, or has it taken you some time to be comfortable with it? Talk to us about
Yeah.
how you started sharing like that.
Yeah. I have always had this voice, but the truth is, when I was a kid, I was embarrassed by it. I was always the one that had, like, anytime I was put into a group or something in school, like everybody had one way of doing the thing that we were supposed to do. And I always had a different idea. And I learned pretty quickly after bringing up my ideas a few times and having people look at me like, what? You want to do what? I started to get embarrassed by it. And I started to feel like, why am I so different? Like, why is my brain doing this? Like, how can I shut this part of myself off? And I did that for many, many, many years. And what I eventually came to realize was this is my special sauce. Like, this is the part of me that is most truly like me, the real me. And other people like it. And I'm not in elementary school anymore. And I don't have to pretend that this is not who I am. And so it's interesting you brought up the cursing thing. Like back when I was an interior designer, and look, guys, I'm old. Okay. So I have been on Instagram from literally day one. How many years is that now? 12, 15? I don't know. However long Instagram has been around, I have been on it. And back in the day, like nobody else was doing this. There weren't other like cursing interior designers. There weren't other funny interior designers. Like that was not a thing. And there also were not interior designers like me who was just constantly showing up and like giving people all the scoop on everything and telling people how much stuff cost and how the industry worked and how everyone was making money and all of the tricks that all the other designers were like, can you please shut up about this? Like, this is not cool. And I tried. There was a period of time where I was just trying really hard, like, not to curse and not to sometimes share these opinions because I was starting to work with brands. That was like a new thing at the time, like brands wanting to work with you. And I didn't want to like alienate all of these people. But what I realized is that that is not a fun way for me to show up. And so, me having to pretend that I'm someone that I'm not really, that might work for you for a couple months, a year, maybe even two. You are going to reach a point where you're going to start to feel resentful about it and burnt out, and you're not going to want to show up. And it's just not who I wanted to be online. And so I ditched that entirely. I mean, again, it probably lasted for a few months, if I'm being honest. And I just, at that point, I started doing deals with brands who didn't care that I cursed. And that is not every brand. That definitely will limit you if you are a UGC creator now. However, it's not going to limit you to the point that like you're not going to have any options. And I think in the end, it's actually going to do more for you. And you're going to end up making more money than you would if you were pretending to be this person who didn't have any opinions or never cursed or, whatever your thing is.
Exactly. And I always say it's like the things that make us different or weird are the
Yes.
thing that is going to like get our people to fall in love with us and repel the people that we want nothing to fucking do with away.
Exactly. Yes. And
And
that's a
then you're
good
going to
thing.
burn yourself out
Yeah.
by trying to be somebody you're not. You're not going to want to show up.
Yeah.
Which is why I think a lot of people say and have that narrative of, oh, I hate social media.
Yeah.
I hate showing up on social media. Well, that's because you're trying to show up on social media like Susan the business coach, and you're not Susan the business coach.
Yeah, totally. And I will say to people too, it's like, look, if you and I went out to lunch and spent an hour and a half together, what are the things that I would say about you after having that experience the first time? Like, I hope people come away thinking I'm funny. I know people are going to pick up on the fact that I'm sarcastic. I know people are going to notice that I seem to have really strong opinions. If these are the things that you're hiding on social media, like you're going to get yourself to this place that we're talking about of just not feeling like you want to show up, feeling burnt out. Like, let us get to know you because you're probably dope as hell. And I want to hear all of these things. I saw a video recently. Someone was like the key to social media is being cringe AF and not caring what anyone thinks about it. And I couldn't
Yes.
agree more.
Oh my gosh, 100%. And this is, I think I've told this story before on social. I don't know if I told it on the podcast, but I literally, when I first started creating video content on social media, I had this one girl from high school in my head. no matter how old you are, I'm sure you have that one girl from high school or middle school in your head. And one day she came on to my TikTok live and I was like, oh shit, my worst fear is coming true. And she was so supportive and she was rooting for me. And so it's like, you're afraid of being cringe because you think that people are going to judge you when you're the one making up that narrative. People might think that this is like the coolest thing ever. You
Yeah.
have no idea, and they're not paying your bills. They're not creating your marketing plan. And so I always just say, awesome. It
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
totally. And you know what? Some of them might be judging you, but I always think to myself, like, do I really not want to show up because Cheryl in accounting or like angry mom 22 is going to feel a
Yes.
certain way about me? Or do I want to show up for all of the people that I know I can help build unbelievable businesses and change their life and like, share everything that I have to share? Those are the people who I want to show up for. Like
Yes.
Cheryl in accounting can go fuck herself.
Yeah. Fuck you, Cheryl. All right. So I want you to talk to us about, like I said, you have a large following on Instagram. That's where you started.
Yeah.
Talk to us about how you found TikTok, started creating on TikTok, and then grew a quite large
Yeah.
community on
Yeah.
TikTok.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is not a very original story. I will
That's
take
okay.
you
Let's hear
back.
it.
Yeah, I will take you back to the year of 2020 when all of us were locked up at home for the pandemic. And that is when I discovered TikTok, like so many other people. And for a long time, I just was consuming on TikTok. It was just like a fun place for me to go and hang out. And I really just was not taking it seriously in terms of my business because I had started shifting into having higher ticket offers, more expensive offers. And TikTok just seemed like a place that like I could connect with people that only wanted a $97 checklist or something. And so I just spent a ton of time there. I still maintain, I think that I have learned more from TikTok than I did at 4 years at a top university. Like, I am not kidding you. The
Yes.
amount of stuff that I have learned on TikTok, that's where I learned that I had ADHD. I mean, I had never considered that before. And I saw so many people talking about it. And I'm like, okay, that sounds like me. I need to get diagnosed for this thing. And of course I did. And the doctor was like, okay, you're off the charts. You got this thing. So just so you know. So I really did not take it seriously until honestly, I think like 6 months ago or 8 months ago is when I really started saying, I had like a talking to with myself, and I finally said, if you are spending so much time on this platform, like an hour and a half, 2 hours scrolling around on TikTok is so much fun for you. How are you not over here creating content? Because people who would want to work with you are probably having fun on TikTok just like you are. So I almost started feeling like, okay, prove me wrong, TikTok. I know this isn't going to work, but let me show up for a month and post 3 videos a day and see what happens. So I committed to my 3 videos a day. I forget if I was including the weekends or not, but I think I was, 30 days, 3 videos a day. And I quickly had a video go viral and realized like, oh my God, there is a possibility to grow on this platform. Oh my God, new eyeballs are actually seeing me for the first time in what feels like a decade, because having that happen on Instagram is real hard. And I just like immediately, it's kind of embarrassing because I didn't even know that I needed this, but it was so much fun to have new people in my community, to get feedback like, oh my God, this thing that you shared helped me so much. You're such an amazing coach. Please share more. again, I just am not getting that on Instagram because it's very hard to get in front of new people there. It's very hard to, like build yourself up at, like, I just feel like everyone who's following me on Instagram has been there forever. And I know that's not 100% true, but I just had a completely different experience on TikTok. And then the crazy thing that happened was I started getting client inquiries from TikTok. And I just really was blown away because I didn't think at our price point, we at the Icon agency, the cheapest package to work with us is $25,000. And so
So this is
again,
not a $27 digital product, guys.
no, this is not a $27 digital product. And I just thought there is no way in hell I'm going to find clients on TikTok. All of our most recent clients came from TikTok.
Yes,
So,
and I'm not surprised. I'm not
yeah.
surprised because you show up. So, did you go into creating on TikTok with any kind of strategy? Or were you just like, I'm just gonna test things? Talk to us about the content creation process that was going on in your brain.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm keeping it real, I, in the beginning, was just still getting used to how the platform worked. And it's so different from Instagram
So
and
different.
so different. And the videos that people like and the way people show up and like everything was just totally different. So beyond doing 3 videos a day, I didn't have a ton of strategy because again, it was like, okay, how do you edit in TikTok? Like, what's a trending sound? How do I find those? Like, I was just getting used to all of that stuff. I mean, I did quickly, based on the suggestion of someone I was working with, I realized like, okay, 3 videos a day. How can I make this really easy for myself? And so my formula was mostly one trending video, one kind of B-roll video with text over it, and then one talking head video a day. That was kind of how I mostly did things. But I didn't have like a really specific, tight strategy at first. I just was playing around and experimenting.
Yes, and that is what I always recommend, and it scares people because they're like, "Well, what's the strategy? What is the script? What is the this and that and the other?" And it's like, when you get onto TikTok for the first time, or maybe you've been on there, but you don't have a community on there yet, you have to play. It is such a different vibe from
Yeah.
Instagram.
Yeah.
So different. And so you have to play and test. And then as you see what people like and you see what kind of misses the mark, then you can make a strategy for yourself. But I always recommend just playing, like just get
Yeah.
on there and have fun and play and test things. And so I'm so glad you said that. I'm so
Yeah.
glad you said that. Yes, because you do not need to go on there with a perfect strategy.
Yeah. No,
Um,
totally.
so I love that. So speaking of the Icon agency,
Yes.
tell us more about that. Tell us
Yeah.
more about what that looks like.
Yeah. So I, having been a business strategy coach for many years, I really started noticing some patterns with my clients. And I am somebody who just loves to solve problems. Like that is my favorite thing to do. And so what I started noticing was oftentimes I would have a client, we would come up with ideas together. We would brainstorm. We would think through their product suite and launch plans and all of that. And then I would leave the client to go off and execute these plans that we had together. And that is always where people were getting tripped up. Because when you come up with these amazing ideas, when you brainstorm a new offer, when you come up with a specific way to do a launch, you then need things in order to make that happen. And it's different for everyone depending on what you're doing. But like email sequences and content ideas and launch plans and deliverables and all of that. And so I finally realized, like, what if I could set up a program that gave my clients the one-on-one business strategy coaching that they all wanted and needed. But when we were coming up with these ideas, I could actually execute them for them. And so we decided to put together an agency that combines this one-on-one coaching with done for you services. And one of the things that we decided to do was, instead of just focusing on one thing, it's amazing to have a social media agency or a marketing agency or an SEO agency. But what I was finding with my clients is it's almost never one thing, particularly when you start to grow and you're ready for a big up level and you've had some success and you really just want to figure out what's next. There's this pressure to, like, oh my God, like, what should I invest in? What if I make the wrong decision? Maybe it's emails, maybe it's social media. And it's all of those things. And so to have a space where we can now, like, take our clients from this amazing idea to done with the idea. And so by the time you're done working with us, you have the email sequences, you have the new branding, you have everything that you need to execute these big ideas. And it's awesome because people are able to make progress and move ahead at a rate that, if they were doing it on their own, would have taken a year or two. And the funny thing is, we tend to work with people who are the type to figure shit out. Like, there's nobody that we're working with that, like, couldn't eventually figure out, like, how to show up on YouTube if that's what they wanted to do. But they just don't want to have to do every single solitary thing in their business anymore. And so that is the Icon Agency. And that's why we call it a business building agency, because whatever it is that you need in your business to get to that next level, that is what we're going to help you with.
And it's so good because you're right. It's
Thank
like
you.
somebody could have a beautiful plan mapped
Yep.
out, but then if they don't execute on it, then what good was the plan?
Yeah.
So I love it.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Thank
Amazing.
you. Thank you.
Um, so I want to ask you one last question. Something that you talk about quite often is the CEO millionaire version of you,
Yes.
and like stepping into that person every day.
Yeah.
So like, what can we do, everybody listening? Like, what
Yes.
are some things that you do to
Yeah.
step into that version of yourself?
Yeah. Well, so the whole idea behind this is that oftentimes when we are business owners, we all have goals, we all have things that we want to do. And for some reason, $1 million was always the thing that sounded so amazing to me. And I'm sure a lot of other people can relate to that. And I wanted to, as much as I am a business and strategy coach, that's kind of how I bill myself, but I do love the mindset stuff too. And I wanted an easy way to help people understand that the key to getting yourself to this point where you're making millions of dollars and you're grabbing people's attention and other people in your industry are watching what you're doing, and taking cues from you. In order for that to happen, you have to start showing up as that bitch now, no matter how much money is in your bank account. And so that was kind of the framework that I wanted to use to help people to, like, quickly understand what this concept is and to just have a tool to go back to again and again. And I just love this idea of really getting specific and imagining what the CEO millionaire version of you looks like. What does she sound like? What does she wear? Where does she live? What sort of a team does she have? And so this is always something that I'm talking about because I truly think it is the key for so many female business owners to really make those big moves and do the things that are truly going to get them into that realm so that their bank account actually matches up. And you might be thinking too, like, oh, I have to go, like, spend money in order to do this. And look, there are some things that I do spend money on and enjoy. But one of the main things that I started doing when I came up with this idea was I started getting dressed up for work every day. Now, I work from home. I have for the past 5 years. And there are days sometimes where I don't even have a Zoom meeting or like a podcast interview like this. I might not be seeing anyone else. But for me, getting dressed up for work every single day puts me into a different headspace. It like lends a level of like seriousness and badassness to me and my business. And it honors the person that I want to be, the CEO that I want to be. And so this is something that I have been doing probably for the last 4 years or so. And I do it every single day. I am never wearing sweatpants. It's just like not something that I do during the day. Now, if you want to do this, everyone has their own version of it. So maybe like a dope sweatsuit is the way you dress up every day, or like a great workout set, or whatever it is. Like you get to decide what the level is. Like I don't really wear makeup. So like I'm not doing a ton of makeup, but I'll do my hair. You know, for some people, it might be like a full face of makeup and, you know, a cute workout outfit. Like you really get to decide what your formula is. But that has been one of the things that I swear to you, just doing that has made me so much more money in my business because it just completely changes the way I show up in my business, on social media, with my clients across the board.
Yes, yes, just like acting as if,
Yes,
showing
acting
up
as
and
if.
acting as if. And that's what I always tell my clients, and I tell myself this too. The same goes for social.
Yep.
If you want to build this community of thousands of people or millions of people, are you going to show up and like be meek and post like one video a month? Like, no, you're going to be on there. You're going to be getting on video. You're going to be talking. You might be going live. Like, what does that version of you look like where you have this community of people that are like, they just want to eat up everything that you put out?
Yeah.
That's how you have to start acting. And so I love that too. The same goes for your income. Like
Yeah.
act as if that's already you.
Yeah. And another easy way to like implement this too is and I do this all the time. Oftentimes things will happen in our business and you know, let's say you're doing a master class and you want 50 people to sign up and only 10 people sign up and you are just wrecked by it. I will always say to myself, like, what does CEO millionaire Erica think about this? And it's such a great way to like snap me out of things because the CEO millionaire version of me could give a shit. Like, she doesn't care. She's already moved on to the next thing. She's like, oh, okay, I guess maybe we'll look at our marketing for that the next time we do it. It hasn't like just decimated me and like laid me out in bed and like, you know, have me thinking that like the whole business should be thrown in the garbage. Because when I think of myself operating at that level, it's like, it's almost like a joke. Like she like gave it 2 minutes of thought and then moved on to the next thing. So that's kind of another way to like snap me out of it. I will say, spoiler alert, I am working on a program called CEO Millionaire You that's coming out this summer that's really going to teach you how to do this in your life and in your business in a way that I think is going to be super fun for people. So that's coming.
Yes, that is so exciting and
Yeah.
so needed. And I love that shift because it's like, I mean, I'm totally guilty of like when
Yep.
things like that happen, I'll like personalize it
Yeah.
and just completely shit on myself. And it's like that is not what CEO millionaire Sarah will be doing.
Nope.
So
Nope.
it's such a good shift. And I was thinking while you were saying that, I feel like CEO millionaire me would be like, oh my God, those 10 people are so lucky that they have more one-on-one attention with me. Like there are
Yep.
so many shifts that you can make um when you kind of just step into that like next level.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And
So
it
so thank you
requires
for
a lot
sharing
of
that.
practice. I will say that
Yeah.
too. It's not, you might try this on day one and be like, okay, this feels weird. I don't know who this bitch is. Like, I really have to figure this out. But the more you practice it, because the truth is, your brain doesn't know the difference between the truth and a lie. And so when you spend your time and energy focusing on all of the disastrous things that happen and what they mean about you and your business and your future and your ability to make money, like that's what your brain, you know, gets focused on. And that's what you bring more of into your life. When you're focused on this higher level of yourself and you really spend time and energy thinking about like the details and what this version of you looks like your brain starts to appreciate this and like take it in. And every time you practice doing this exercise, it becomes more and more familiar to your brain in the best way possible. And you actually end up manifesting this shit.
Oh, so good. So friggin' good. Erica, thank you so much
Of
for
course.
coming on, spilling all the tea. If people want more Erica Reitman in their lives, where can they find you?
They can find me on TikTok and on Instagram. It's just my first name and my last name, ERICAREITMAN. Come say hi. Would love to get to know you. Any friend of Sarah's is a friend of mine.
Yes, yes. And seriously, go follow her on TikTok. She's such a vibe. She might curse at you, and it's fabulous.
Thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely. And to everybody listening, I will see you on the next one. And thank you so much for being here.